Yes. A classic. Tabata is going to take a break week, which I'm fine with. I'm perfectly fine with Tabata taking a break. Like he definitely takes the least amount of breaks out of the kind of like more on like longer going series right now in Shonen Jump. The only one that you can kind of give a little bit of a all right, fine over like in comparison to Tabata is like Oda because One Piece is going on for like 20 years, but 20 plus years before someone corrects me. But Tabata doesn't take a lot of breaks. We know that he very rarely takes breaks, and then to get to his health. So I'm fine with him taking a break. I'm always so cool with Manga getting rest, but it's a very kind of like normal thing for them to do to kind of like leave off on like cool cliffhanger. But like Tabata just likes to do ones when it comes to this where not a lot happens, but it's like it's like just kind of like a general kind of build up hype thing, similar to when we got Asta Devil Union reveal. I remember that it was just kind of one of those parts where there's events going on in the story, but like it's nothing in that kind of like week of chapter release that gives us anything new. It's more of the setup of events to come. So logically, I don't have a ton to say about this chapter, but there are some things that I do want to go over. One, I do like that Lucifero is actually, even though he's not in this kind of weird, fleshy, not his full self state, he is actually doing pretty well in just presenting himself. Like, he's able to still kind of push back the Black Bull's base. They don't seem to be doing anything to any damage to him, even in this buffed Megazord version of what they have. They're just kind of like pushing him, but he's yelling, and the gravity that's coming out of him is just kind of completely destroying the Black Bull's like base limbs and creating gravity that's holding down a lot of characters. Granted, the passive gravity he has seems not as powerful as, say, I would say, like, in general, not as like overall powerful as like the presence of the Demon King from like Dante and Morris, because he, like, we saw Dante like be able to like pull down a lot of people. It's weird to compare it to because we don't have like a lot of people like outright resisting it to compare. We don't have like a ton of characters like straight just like, oh yeah, I'm able to physically stand up under it. Like, we have stuff where they're able to fight back against it, or they're able to neutralize the effects, but it just kind of makes it a little bit difficult to kind of gauge in comparison of like different gravity users in terms of like these few kind of like instances of like raw gravity pressure kind of crushing nature setups. Like, just literally large area of effect, gravity, heavy, smash. But one thing we can look at is he wasn't able to hold down Fuego and Merleona. And granted, they're strong, but this is his passive gravity. He's not using Presence of the Demon King. This is like, when a character is just using their element, whatever their magic is, in like the most basic raw form. I do not think this is a spell. So I think like if his, in this weaker state, granted on top of that, if his Presence of the Demon, not even his Presence of the Demon, his basic gravity, his basic gravity application being able to be that strong is cool. Plus, it also has a very large AoE, but I mean, I guess he's also gigantic. But the Black Bulls are just doing their thing. They're kind of just attacking him. There is a really cool note from Henry that no matter how much mana he's absorbing from this Lucifero proxy flesh body, it just keeps getting more mana. It just keeps coming back, and it's like overflowing and overwhelming, and he's not able to really keep up at it. And none of the Black Bulls seem to have any way of getting into like, or in this situation and really kind of like fighting back against him and kind of doing anything. So it's obviously it's going to be one of those main character moments. Granted, I like Asta doing this. Here's what I want to what I kind of want to happen. One, I'll talk about this panel, why I chose this panel in a minute, but I really want I'm trying to figure out how to word this, because obviously it's setting up an Asta scene at the end, and Asta's the main character. He is the main character. He's got his main character ability. This is a scene where it's setting up a big moment for him. He's got out the demon slasher sword, and now he's going to potentially do something really cool. I would like to know what the difference of like this sword is, because that's one of the questions that a lot of people had about it. but also the fact that he got so far away, I'm wondering if it is a ranged weapon. Kind of like the idea of like Yami's Equinox, but something that like this is just a technique that he can do with this weapon. We saw him use Black Divider on like a massive scale, so I could see him having like some crazy range like this with his Demon Slasher. But I really want other characters to get some spotlight right now, and we haven't had really any Asta spotlight in like 30 plus chapters. So in reality, I'm actually kind of okay with it when you think about the lapse of time like between now and the last time Asta really had a flex. I will say that depending on how this turns out, like obviously the Lucifero stuff is very crazy right now in terms of the pacing of the events. Like it's not the real Lucifero obviously, but he's definitely thrown a wrench into the fray of things. And if Tabata, here's what I want Tabata to do. If Tabata Devil Unions Asta is able to pretty much instead of 5 minutes, just put all his anti-magic into one attack, pretty much just one mega attack. When the reason that I wanted to bring up like the distance also is like, I'm thinking of like a spirit bomb kind of attack. Not necessarily the same thing, but pretty much a big charge up attack. Something that Asta has to go the distance way, and the other characters have to pretty much buy him time. And he has to just pretty much set it up and just do this big mega power attack. Something that's like an all-in, because Asta does need something like that. I feel like any character this far in should have something where it's like, if I have to pull this out, this is a all-in kind of move. I would love that. I would really like Asta to have something like, because he doesn't really have anything like that. Like Black Dividers, Black Slashes, Black Hurricanes, Black Meteorite. He doesn't have any all-in moves. Like Black Meteorite used to be something like that, because you can only stay in the form for so long. You just go all in, use Black Meteorite and cleave somebody. Maybe he'll get something similar in Black Asteroid or something here, maybe some big super attack. But I'm really hoping that, say Asta goes Devil Union, uses it all up, and then they defeat this version of Lucifero. Like say this is a scene to set up Lucifero's acknowledgement of Asta and like certain aspects about the events and anti-magic and everything. Like it's done way more of like a surprise. Lucifero show up and we're gonna just see. So we're gonna see Lucifero's character side of things, and I think that's one of the big things that could come out of this is not just fight stuff, but more of a sneak peek rather. I think because like with the devil hosts with Morris and Dante, you can kind of look at that too. But this is obviously like way more of a taste of what Lucifero is capable of, because this isn't actually him, but it is a proxy body that clearly he is able to exude more power with than what Dante and Morris had. But with that, there's the danger of what's gonna happen with the other characters, and obviously like where spotlight and time is gonna go. But like I said, if he goes Devil Union, say he uses it all up, bam, 30-minute timer again, they're able to push back this version of Lucifero, whether they defeat him and then like he goes back to the underworld, or maybe he gets hurt, has to recover, whatever that kind of happens, where it's like they kind of like suppress him for the moment. Asta pops out of Devil Union because it's like, oh, I had used up all the power, so I pretty much just fast tracked all of it, squeezed all the energy out at once. And then bam, the second Gate Supreme Devil shows up. If Tabata uses this pretty much as a way to say no Devil Union Asta for Gate 2, I think that would be really cool. I think that would be a really good move for Tabata, because it would set it up for a way that obviously hypes up Asta, but it takes away the most safety securing thing right now that the Clover has. Because Devil Union Asta during that time period, as far as we know, like it's not as far as we know, but as far as we've been shown, he's like it's almost like a borderline 5-minute Invincible star, like the Mario star, where he's just so powerful. And is that like another series where there are other power systems? The only other thing we really have that is like a magic variant that should be able to affect us is True Magic, but I don't see Lucifero and them busting out True Magic. None of the Devil. The Devil with True Magic would be crazy. But with that, the whole setup with the Devil kind of like just array of events, I think it'd be really cool for Tabata to say, yeah, this form that is obviously very dangerous, very scary for like the Devils, obviously any of the magic users right now that Asta can keep up with, and really kind of match in terms of like the potency of his anti-magic and their magic and stuff. If he's able to take that away, it will really help, because like a lot of the characters are hurt, they're recovering. I don't imagine Mimosa and them can heal everybody back up to full. It can only do so much, and I think it'll really do a good job of really setting up a scene. Because like one thing about the ultimate magic I would really like to know are the limitations of ultimate magic. We don't really have anything on like if they can, like, say Mimosa can only use her ultimate magic heal twice a day. Twice a day she could use it. She already used it once. Or maybe she could only use it once a day. And Tabata pretty much used the whole gotcha stuff to pretty much say, yeah, she has this, but she's not getting this for the rest of this span of time. I think that'd be really good, because it would help really build up tension, knowing what parts of the Clover Kingdom are taxed right now. What parts of the characters are lower on energy, lower on power, and are not going to be able to perform the same way as like if they were fresh in this fight. Because like the Spade lost, like they've lost Morris and the Dark Triad, which is obviously a big set for them currently, but that's currently. Like a Supreme Devil could come out, and obviously they're going to escalate in strength, so every time they get a gate open, they borderline have a refreshment of forces. And Dante and Vonik are still not confirmed dead, so there's still kind of question marks. There's some people in there that we don't know exactly what's happening. The fourth Zor Gratis as well. There's still stuff for the Spade, but now that they've got a second gate open, there's a chance for them to have more enemies right now. And I would assume there's more smaller devils that could come out. I don't imagine that he ripped all the devils outside, like they were fully blanked. Like everybody on floors 1 and 2 either was already out, or he pulled them up to the surface or something and made this body. I'm guessing it's all the ones that were already out. So there's probably still more fodder ones in there, just to kind of have that spewing of the lower devils going out to cause havoc that people need to keep in check. But one of the reasons I just wanted to mention that I really like this panel is I mentioned way earlier in the year, I wish I remember the post, that I wanted to get a scene similar to when Natsu went up against Ikusa Tsunagi, how you had this 2-mile tall war deity giant off in the distance, and Natsu was like looking up at him from like the edge of a cliff, and there's black clouds and lightning all around him, and he's just looking like he's ready to go against the world. And that's kind of like how Asta is here. Asta's way off in the distance, this giant monster. He's on this cliffside, looking it down. I'm hoping so bad we can get like a really good paneling of this in the next one. We don't have to get like a double spread, but I would appreciate like at least a full page of seeing Asta kind of set up. Because I know a lot of people like that one of the very end with the double spread of Asta standing there with his katana. But I prefer this one because I think it just looks visually cooler to see Asta on-looking Lucifero and what he's doing. And this giant monster in the distance. Because it also shows a good sense of scale. It shows how big Lucifero is in this form. But other than that, it's also just show distance too, so we're gonna get a good range attack from Asta, which is gonna be really cool, because this should be logically his longest range attack once this goes off. I do not think his Black Divider reaches this kind of length. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But I appreciate it. Subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.